Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
It's 2016, and all odds were against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers when they went up against the 73-win Golden State Warriors in the finals, where Stephen Curry and company were the odds-on favorites. But against all odds, LeBron led the Cavs to a comeback from a 3-1 deficit to capture Cleveland's first-ever NBA championship, and that was because the King was simply built different that season. It was never a secret that LeBron James is arguably the greatest athlete the NBA has ever seen. He's a 6'9", 250-pound locomotive capable of bullying his way to the basket and punishing any defender who dares to challenge him close to the basket. He used his physical gifts to his advantage, but there were a lot of reasons why he was the king. James is one of the most skilled players to ever set foot on an NBA court because he's got it all. He can shoot, drive, post up, rebound, defend, and pass. Everyone knows he's arguably the greatest all-around player the sport has ever seen and might even be the purest athlete in all of professional sports history. We've heard all the superlatives about his game and what he's done for the NBA. We've seen all the triple-doubles, championships, and MVP runs. But while that may be true, one of the greatest moments in LeBron's career happened in 2016.
Spade's final seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
Entering the 2015-16 season, the Cleveland Cavaliers were favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. It had only been 2 seasons since he moved on from Miami to return to Cleveland, where he joined forces with a young Kyrie Irving and a very versatile Kevin Love. Despite leading a team that didn't have championship experience, he took the Cavs to the 2015 NBA Finals, where they lost to the Golden State Warriors after injuries ravaged the Cleveland roster. But a lot of fans believed Cleveland could have won it all that season had it not been for injuries. After all, they took the fight to the 2015 Warriors, who were still inexperienced back then. So when the 2015-16 season began, everyone thought this was another chance for James to redeem himself for leaving Cleveland in 2010 to join the Miami Heat in a disgraceful manner. Despite Kyrie's injury early in the season, LeBron powered this team and carried it on his back. Imagine leading a team of Tristan Thompson, Matthew Dellavedova, Timothy Mozgov, and J.R. Smith to a good record early in the season. Plus, the Cavs also had coaching problems, eventually replacing David Blatt with Ty Lue. Throughout Kyrie's injuries and the coaching problems, LeBron remained the constant force powering the Cavs all season long. In fact, he was the only All-Star on that team that season because Irving came back too late to qualify and wasn't playing his usual brand of basketball during the regular season.
Irving drives, hop step inside, floats it up, misses.
Meanwhile, Love was still having trouble adjusting to his new role as a catch-and-shoot player. But James still managed to average 25.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 6.8 assists during the regular season. He was also a contender for the MVP, but couldn't make a case for the award when Stephen Curry was leading his team to 73 regular season wins, and Kawhi Leonard was carrying a surging San Antonio Spurs team. So while LeBron was doing superhuman stuff with the Cavaliers during the regular season, no one batted an eye because people were turning their attention to the uncrowned 2016 champions, the Warriors, who were seemingly unbeatable on their way to the most historic regular season record of all time. People were calling Curry and company the champions before the playoffs even started, and no one could blame them because, for all intents and purposes, there seemed to be no one good enough to beat that team in a 7-game series. The Warriors did their thing and made it to the finals, losing only twice in the first 2 rounds before struggling against the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. But they still beat the Thunder in a 3-1 series comeback, proving they were the best team in the West. Meanwhile, James and company were also rampaging through the East after winning 57 regular season games. And in most cases, a 57-win season would be more than enough for a team to be the favorites for a title.
Ezeli again goes back up on him. James steps back for 3, puts it in! LeBron James from downtown!
But James unfortunately achieved that while there were 2 teams who won at least 67 games in the West. But win-loss records don't always matter when it's playoff time, and LeBron delivered like he always does. He completely dominated the helpless Detroit Pistons in the first round, averaging 22.8 points, 9 rebounds, and 6.8 assists in a quick sweep to earn some rest heading into the second round. Now, here comes the Atlanta Hawks, a team that historically couldn't solve the LeBron James problem. These 2 teams met in the East Finals a season ago, only for James and company to sweep them. Their 2016 rematch wasn't all that different. LeBron showed why the Hawks were no match for him and the Cavs as he demolished that team in 4 games while averaging 24.3 points, 8.5 rebounds, 7.8 assists, and 3 steals. This was another classic performance from the King, who was proving to everyone in the world why he was still the greatest player in the league at 31 years old. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference Finals, James showed the world why the Raptors were also called LeBronto. The Raptors had no chance in Cleveland when the Cavs beat them by a combined total of 50 points in games 1 and 2. James had a masterclass in game 2, going for 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. The Raptors found their bearing in Toronto when they won the next 2 games to tie the series. They thought they had the Cavs up against the wall, with this series turning into a best-of-3. Unfortunately, James and the Cavs completely outclassed them in the next 2 games, which were embarrassing blowouts. The Cavs won Game 5 by 38 points. And in Game 6, James snuffed out any chances of a return by finishing the series with 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Overall, he averaged 26 points, 8.5 rebounds, 6.7 assists, and 2 steals in that series over the Raptors. More importantly, he booked a ticket to the NBA Finals, where they scheduled a rematch with the Golden State Warriors. Of course, unlike last season, the Warriors were heavily favored to win this series because they now had championship experience and were the winners of 73 games during the regular season. Of course, they also had Steph Curry, the league's leading scorer and the first ever unanimous MVP. Everyone thought there was no way the Cavs were going to make this series a close one. But this time, things were different. A year ago, James had to put on his superhero cape and averaged 35.8 points, 13.3 rebounds, and 8.8 assists all series long. He needed to do that because he didn't have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, but he still took the Warriors to 6 games. Almost everyone thought he was going to be the second player to win the Finals MVP on a losing team since Jerry West became the inaugural Finals MVP in 1969. But the award went to Andre Iguodala.
We got a team full of believers. We all go to chapel before every game.
But in 2016, he had both Irving and Love healthy. The series was more even than it was last season. Still, the Warriors had something to say about that when they took a quick 3-1 series lead. LeBron's only good game in those first 4 games was that Game 3 win, wherein he had 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. But the Warriors outclassed him and the Cavs in the other 3 games, winning those outings by double digits. That was when James went Super Saiyan, and it happened to coincide with Draymond Green's suspension. In Game 5, James took advantage of the situation now that the Warriors were missing their best defender in what they thought was supposed to be a closeout game. He was driving to the basket, hitting 3-pointers, and making incredible defensive plays. This was LeBron on a different level, proving why he was built different. And he had some help too, because Kyrie Irving was also playing out of his mind in that game. As the dust settled in Game 5, James finished with 41 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. Not to be outdone, Irving also had 41 points of his own as the 2 superstars combined for 82 points to give the Cavs a chance at trimming the deficit. Even with Draymond back in the lineup for Game 6, the momentum was already on Cleveland's side as they headed home.
Throws it ahead to Smith. Smith, alley-oop to James! Wow!
Of course, they also saw another superhuman effort from the King, who finished that game with 41 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. He outdid his performance from Game 5 to prove that their last win was no fluke. More importantly, this win tied the series with 3 wins apiece as both teams were headed into Game 7. James overcame the odds, and now it was time to complete the comeback of the century. Game 7 was a hard-fought defensive battle between the 2 teams, with LeBron struggling to replicate the scoring performances he had in the last 2 wins. But instead of affecting the game as a scorer, his trademark moment in that series happened to be his trademark defensive specialty. With the game tied at 89 with only 2 minutes left, the Warriors ran the break with Curry and Iguodala leading the way. Curry passed the ball to Iguodala, who had what looked like an open layup. But what he didn't know was that the King had been chasing him all play long. Before he knew it, Iguodala saw his shot bouncing off the glass after a trademark LeBron James chase down block negated that play. Because of how important that basket would have been for the Warriors, who could have gained the lead, this block by James is often considered the greatest defensive play in NBA Finals history. Then, in the dying seconds of the game, Kyrie Irving hit a booming three-pointer over Curry's outstretched arms to seal the win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The comeback was now complete as LeBron finished Game 7 with 27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. He didn't hit the biggest shots of the series, but he had the biggest defensive play of the year. The King also averaged 29.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, 8.9 assists, 2.6 steals, and 2.3 blocks in what was a monster all-around performance from the 2016 Finals MVP. More importantly, he gave Cleveland its first NBA championship after an unreal Finals effort that people will still talk about for decades to come. Overcoming the odds, coming back from a 3-1 deficit, and putting a near triple-double effort in the finals were all in a day's work for the King. And only someone built different could do what he did to the greatest regular season team of all time in that historic finals performance.